I've got Colette Walker joining me in a minute. Once I get everything plugged in and sorted and getting Colette there we go. Colette, good morning.
Good morning, Nori. How are you?
Well, do you know this? As I said earlier, I got a great sleep and I'm feeling fully charged. I'm ready to go because it's a busy day. You know, fine, I've got you on first, which is a handful, and then I've got David Powell, and he's a handful. So I've got my workout this morning.
You're a glutton for punishment, Nori. You're a glutton for punishment.
It's what the people need, Colette. It's what the people need.
It is indeed.
Right, what were we talking about last night? The first thing that got us chatting, I've got it all written down here, was Jackie Bailey getting her gong, her Empire biscuit. And both of us were like, we kind of laughed at it, didn't we? We weren't getting angry, we just laughed at the stupidity of all this charade, this pantomime that goes on in our country every single day.
Yeah, it's what is the full name? The commander of the. What is the British Empire to start with? I don't actually know what that is. Their services to public relate what? She's an MSP. She gets paid for doing it. You know, I mean that's her job. I don't understand why you need to have an honour to get this. So she went across the road to Holyrood Palace to be awarded this. So she says now the commander of the British Empire.
Oh my goodness. Is that a boat? What is that?
I really don't know. And to be fair, I actually really don't want to know because I think they make up these titles. I really don't do grandeur. No better than anybody in Scotland, as far as I'm concerned.
Well,
you know.
Yeah, me as well. It seems like the more you do to put down the people in the country of Scotland, the higher you're rewarded in this world. And I'm looking at Jack McConnell as well. He's got his ermine coat. Malcolm Offord bought himself into that cabal. You know what I mean? Oh my goodness! And do you know what happened? Princess Royal was giving her the gong. Two idiots together. You said she was doing it in Holyrood Palace, and that explained it, because the Princess Royal was in Hamilton, believe it or not. She was opening a Citizens Advice Bureau. I think that's their level, isn't it? Opening wee shops here and there. Never mind taking grand amounts of money off us.
Well, it's funny how it's a Citizens Advice Bureau. You know, really should we be needing more Citizens Advice Bureaus? Should people actually be struggling that much that they actually need to seek help with their finances and their everyday living? You know, should we actually really be needing these places? But yes, we do, sadly.
Yep.
And you know, but then she goes back to, as you say, opens one of them up and then goes back to Holyrood Palace to have a night in the palace across the road from our Scottish Parliament. That's
right, with servants and the best of food and all that kind of stuff. Oh, aye. I don't know. I think we're all getting fed up because that is the state of play. Because 45%, a recent poll says they're disinterested, apathetic towards the royal family. That is worse than not liking them. When you just can't be bothered with them, you just don't want to know about them. They're becoming obsolete more and more, aren't they?
When people are starting to understand that they actually aren't our monarch in the first place, but I think even down in England, the polls are getting for getting rid of the monarchy, especially the younger people.
Yep.
You know, I think probably if you look at the demographic of the poll, it'd probably be a lot of the older people that are still maybe wanting the royal family, but certainly here in Scotland. Once people are starting to realise that it's not our monarch, he isn't our king, but we are having this imposed on us that he is, and the privileges that come with it when he's in Scotland and the money that is spent from the Scottish Crown estate, it's madness. It
is. Do you know what? And she lords it all over the place, this Princess Royal. If she didn't have a gong to give, she wouldn't have a job to have. Do you know what I mean? And it's perpetual. The royal family have to be doing these things to make them important. And then she opens a bloody Citizens Advice Bureau.
People will start to get slightly angry at finding out at the cost of some of our Scottish councils paying for the portrait of seemingly Charles. When our councils are on their knees and people can't get the social care, and you know that's something I'm very passionate about, is the social care within our councils, because people are getting their self-directed payments slashed left, right and centre because they don't have the budget. So the most vulnerable people in the community are getting the support that they're desperately needing to try and live as much of an independent life as they possibly can. They're getting that slashed, but then they have money to pay for a portrait. But also, look at what Edinburgh Council paid for Charles to come up here for this seemingly coronation, when it wasn't a coronation.
No, it wasn't. Yeah. I don't know how much it was, but I tell you what, it was a penny too much, because there's people suffering with the austerity programme that the Tories have put onto us. Yeah, it's a very good point, isn't it? But the councillors make this decision on their own. Falkirk Council, I believe, bought this painting. I don't know what kind of pressure is on the councillors to do this, or is it just a jolly, they think it's a good thing to shore up their unionist credentials? I don't know. But I tell you this, that picture of this guy looking down, if I saw that, that would remind me of the poverty of Scotland right now, just looking at a picture of him. So it could have a positive outcome. And I noticed they didn't give a picture of him and his brother, or him and Jimmy Savile laughing away together. No, it was
well, that's a whole other different story. But you know, it's a point of principle that you know, people are getting. You know, my main grievance with this is that I can see people, unpaid carers and people with disabilities and families that are really struggling financially because they've got maybe a disabled child or they're starting to look after their elderly parents as unpaid carers, and they're not able to get the support, they're not able to get the respite from their local council. They're exhausted, they're knackered, their mental health is completely shattered because they're physically exhausted, and they're not able to look after themselves because they're too busy concentrating on the person they're caring for. But councils then have seemingly this money to waste, where it could be going, you know, somewhere that it would make actually an impact and a difference to somebody's life. You know, you heard Rishi Sunak yesterday when he was talking about the Rwanda deal and the bill, and he started talking about the people that were claiming benefits for not being able to work.
That's right.
They were unfit to work. And he asked, you know, he almost made it, he was quite sarcastic and quite facetious the way he said it about what are you trying to say in the past couple of years, you know, 3 times as many people are now unfit for work. Well, when you consider the amount of people that are on waiting lists for hospital appointments, for operations, that could be stopping them from working. We've got more and more unpaid carers now. There's over 10 million,
that's right,
through the census, over 10 million people who are classed as unpaid carers. Save billions of pounds to the government every single year. Now, that's only the people that are declaring themselves unpaid carers.
That's right. We don't know about them.
So that number's going to be higher, Norrie. That's not the top line here. That's just a baseline. There's going to be people out there that are unpaid carers, because even again, as an unpaid carer, because of the money that you might actually have, or a pension that you might already have if you're an elderly unpaid carer, you actually then can't claim carers allowance. You're not on the radar there.
That's right.
You're not on the statistics of any social security benefit payment.
Oh, well, do you know this? I've got to mention my situation where I get a carer's allowance from the Scottish Government, and on the bit of paper it says it's something like they respect the work I do, blah blah blah, and there's on the page it says you will not be expected to lose any other benefits. But the thing is, if it wasn't for the Scottish Government, I'd be up the creek without a paddle. But if I had to rely on the UK government, this would be a nightmare for us. I was talking about if it wasn't for the Scottish Government, I'd be in a bit of a tricky situation because I get my carer's allowance from them. And when I don't even bother anymore, and this might sound awful, but I don't phone for any benefits from down south. I went through Money Matters at the council and we got that done there. That's a great facility. They kind of do it for you. But it's you're waiting for ages for somebody to pick up the phone, and then when you pick up the phone, they divert you, you're waiting again, and before you know it, you've been hanging on the phone for 5-10 minutes. And this is all deliberate, by the way, people. They want you to hang up. They want you to get fed up. They want you to not claim benefit because they don't believe in benefits for you and me. That's not part of their economic philosophy. If you can't work, if you can't do a job, you're in the scrap heap. And that's how it goes, and that's how I feel.
You're right away. It's a deterrent for you to actually, because people are so busy that they don't have time to sit on a phone and wait for half an hour in a queue.
Yeah.
But also, if you're claiming like last maybe about 18 months ago, I had to claim attendance allowance for my father who I care for, and 60 questions long.
Aye, yeah. Oh, I could.
So really, if you don't know how to fill out these forms, yes, I know you can go. There's agencies that you can go to, and they will help you to fill them in. But again, it's some people. If you don't know where to go, how do you know where to go in the first place? How do you know where to look them up if you don't know you've got that support to help you with these forms? And again, some people might not know that they can claim things like attendance allowance for people that that are in need of extra support.
Aye.
If you don't know the system and you don't know where to go, it's quite difficult in the first place, and they're not very free and open and transparent about
no, they're
what
not.
you can apply for. But for this type of forum, for the ESA or for attendance allowance, 60 odd questions, but some of them are duplicated.
That's
to
right.
Try to trick you.
Yep.
They ask you the same questions in a slightly different way to see if you'll answer in a slightly different way.
Aye, and if you do, you're knackered.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, what I found that what I do when I help anybody with their forums now is I will go through the form, what I can fill out, because they give you a tiny wee box, Nori, to give crucial information about somebody's medical condition.
Yeah.
They give you a tiny wee box. So what I do is I normally put in these wee tiny boxes. Please see attached report.
Yep.
And I'll go through the forum again, go through the questions, and I'll actually type up an actual report and I'll insert that forum.
Yep.
I can detail each question and give an example. Because they don't give you that opportunity on the forum to do that.
No.
And when you do that, they've got really not a lot to go to dispute you with, because you've given an example, you've been very open and transparent about the situation, and then if you give all the information about any consultants, but they don't like when somebody is as thorough as that. They want to kind of catch you out.
Yeah, I know it's a minefield, and just when you're at your lowest, you've got to get the strength to do these forms, and people are really weak-willed. Sometimes you will be struck down by physical health, and you just can't do it, and there was a report, Colette, just about 5 weeks ago, that. This is in England and Wales. The amount of deceased people found, decomposed bodies in flats that people had found or discovered. This was a report by the police. England and Wales, that a 20% increase in these people. The smell actually was attracting people to the houses next door, the flats next door. And when they broke down the doors, there was a decomposed body. Now that's gone up 20%. The police are saying we don't want this. It's harrowing going into a decomposed body and having to do a report and call out to. And the police now are saying no, something's got to change, and they've traced it all the way back to benefits. If you don't claim your benefits, or you've been seen to be open brackets, close brackets, a scrounger, then your dignity goes, your life goes. You get depressed and you don't eat, and you just sit there and you die, and then you decompose, and you're just another statistic. This government, this UK government, is actually killing people.
Well, if you don't look after yourself, one of the main principles of being an unpaid carer is that you have to look after yourself first. Because if you're not physically and mentally healthy, then how possibly can you care and look after the person that you are there to care for? Mm-hmm. So you actually have to look after yourself. But if you're in the situation that you've got no money, and that comes with losing, people's confidence, their dignity, their self-importance, their self-worth. If all that goes, then they will retract from society. They'll just stay in the house. They won't be out in the community. And then, people, sad to say, but then we've spoken about this so many times, Nori, that we don't have the same community feel that we used to have.
Yeah.
We really don't. People, sadly, are so busy that they probably wouldn't notice that,
the neighbour next door
at number 13, well, haven't seen him for a while. They might not notice that because they're just so busy with their everyday life, and we just don't have that community feel
we don't
anymore, especially in, I would say, possibly in more the rural, but in the busy city centre, essential belt, people are just so busy, trying to juggle everything, that people are missing, maybe not seeing somebody for a few days.
Well, do you know this? Yesterday, was it yesterday? Bill Cruikshank was talking to me about. We're talking about the reason that the Labour Party lost all their votes because they became less socialist, and all the socialists joined on the SNP. When the SNP became a bit more centre and not so left-leaning, a lot of them left to go to the Alba Party. And I thought, we're all searching for the socialist. We want to return to a socialist country, but events and situations have made it so that we're all almost like small c conservative. We look after ourselves and we don't engage with other people. And that's been born into us, I think, because, it's too expensive to go to the pub anymore. It's too expensive. You can't go to the community centre down here, Colette. It's shut. The Tories and the Labour Party and the Council have shut it. So you can't go down there anymore. All these social places that we used to go to converge and coalesce around are gone. So the only place we've got is in front of the telly with a fire and a can of beer.
Well, that's the thing. And again, it's the staff that are, and the hospitality. A lot of pubs and places like that are actually shutting down because, the cost of running it. But they can't find the staff either because of what you were talking about earlier on, Brexit, which David is obviously going to be talking about later on. So there's a combination of all these failings that haven't been, looked after. The basics haven't been looked after to actually progress society. It's not actually looking after the people of Scotland or England or Wales. It's the corporations, it's the big companies. They're more important.
Well, that's right. But a temporary job has come up because Catherine has Kate, her name is Kate, Princess Kate, I think that's her name. She's gone ill right now, so there's a space there to take over her job. Would you take it?
No, thank you.
No, die. But it's just, this is a Daily Mail coming up with this garbage. Now, listen, we were talking last night, a lot of things, and we've gone to on to a few things. GERS figures, why do we put up with them? There's a big, huge clamour now for EFTA and EU. And I thought we could maybe just touch upon the differences between the two, because I've got a problem here, and I think this will be highlighted by yourself, Colette, and from David later on. If we go for these free ports, these are anti-European free ports. The European Union does not like this lack of regulation, lack of control, etc., etc. If Scotland goes down the road of free ports, and we're almost there, by the way, we cannot get back into the European Union. They won't let us. It's against their principles, this kind of setup. And these these free ports are here for 25-year leases. So for the SNP to come out, and I saw Ian Blackford smiling with a young female on a SNP advert, Scotland is a European country. We'll do everything we can to get back into Europe. Wait a minute, son. Are you stupid thick or whatever? Have you done any research on free ports? Because I can tell you that road back to the European Union is going to be shut in our faces if we adopt a free port. I just thought I'd get that out there because that's the truth.
It is the truth. It's very frustrating when you hear them saying, a vote for SNP is a vote for independence and to a step to rejoin the EU, because, as you say, but it's not even free ports, and we're really actually going to have to stop calling them free ports.
I know.
Even though the SNP would like to call, call them free ports, they like to greenwash us with this, but they're not even free ports. The size of them are special economic zones. They're not what a free port would normally be classed as a free port. They're way beyond that now. But you have to remember that Cromarty, the Cromarty First is already live.
I know.
So we're already there. We're already there. We are in a situation now that people are really going to have to understand exactly what's happening, what's been imposed on us, what's been allowed to happen to us, and how this is actually going to affect your local community and Scotland as a whole. Especially, we were speaking about Rosyth and Ineos shutting down the refinery.
The oil refinery.
And of course, the only refinery, we supply 90% of gas and oil, and we won't have our own refinery.
Yeah, I know. It's pathetic. What?
Where's the back? Where is our Scottish government? Where is it?
It's a good question.
Where is their? Why are they not talking about this in every debate?
Exactly.
Why are they not making free ports? And it's an open goal for them to actually talk about free ports in that chamber, because instead of saying it's a step to joining the EU, which it's not, as you said, the EU don't want them. They don't like deregulation.
That's right.
We've just had Michael Gove actually saying at Teesside that the HMRC are now not to do their books, that the companies have to audit their own accounts. Aye. It's taken wow. Well, waking up, Scotland, because that's what's going to happen here.
I know, and even down in Dartmouth, where there's a free port, there's 74 all over the place. And Byline Times are saying, wait a minute, we didn't expect this. This is unbelievable. They're taking all this land, they're taking and they're getting it for a song. This is treasured land. If you were to buy put up houses now, it would cost you a fortune. If you were to put your own house, it would cost you a fortune. These idiots are selling it for nothing, just about on 25-year leases.
They're getting acres of land for a couple of pounds, and they're making, they're making millions of profit, and the economy itself is only getting a fraction of that back. There's been so many reports over the years from, enterprise zones from 2012 that were put in, etc. That, we were guaranteed all these jobs, but any of the reports that have been done, a few years later, looking at, how did the enterprise zones actually help the economy? they actually haven't, and they haven't created jobs. They've just moved jobs about. They
That's
actually
right.
haven't created jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But with the deregulation, there is absolutely no way the EU is even going to look
Right.
at Scotland as a member.
Yep. It'll see us as an adjunct of the Westminster system. And here, do you know this, Colette, I've got to tell you this. There was a online show, a podcast run by the National, and Kate Forbes was on it, right? And I thought, I haven't seen her for a while. I'll message her, because you could type in your questions to this three in a panel. And it was all about councils, but I thought I'll put a question in about free ports, and I thought, right, here it goes. Kate Forbes, you fully endorse free ports, but how will local authorities be able to manage a new situation like this? That was it, simple as that. And they saw the question, and I could see Kate Forbes bending over to look at it, because you can see them. And they got to the first question, and you can see all the questions go up on the screen. And they ignored my question, and they went to somebody who was talking about education, and should it be centralised or should it be put out to councils, and they were debating that, and somebody went on about something else about councils, and they ignored the free ports question. All of them.
How does that not surprise me? As you know, I'm part of the Free Ports campaign, and last year we held 4 public meetings around Scotland, and the first one was in Inverness at the end of August, and we asked Kate Forbes to come and speak. That is our constituency, plus obviously she was working with Michael Gove on the Levelling Up
That's right.
plan for Free Ports, and she didn't turn up. But anytime we tag her into anything on Twitter, or people ask anything to do with the free ports, the silence is deafening. Now, if this was going to be a prosperous thing for Scotland, and the economy was going to absolutely flourish, the singing and dancing, and it would be everywhere. Nobody. Why does nobody know about it? Why do hardly a lot of the councillors know about it? Why do the businesses in the local areas not know about it? It's happening on their doorstep, and a lot. Even when we were handing, a couple of the people on the committee, on the campaign committee, they were handing out leaflets before the Inverness meeting, and they were going round all the different shops, etc., asking them about free ports, and none of them knew what he was talking about.
Wow.
And it's happening right across the road from where their businesses are. So if this is such a great thing that is going to be, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for Scotland, why then is nobody coming to our meetings to promote them, to talk about them?
That's right. To herald them, to parade them.
And again, the media, the media aren't bringing it up. We've invited all the media along to the public meetings. We send out press releases to get put in press. It's never get put in press releases. And that's why I got in contact with yourself and I introduced you to David Powell, because we need people to hear via media, not just Twitter and Facebook.
I know.
It needs to get out into media, Norrie.
It does.
And we need to support each other. And it's madness that seemingly the bigger media are not picking up on this, and they're not talking about it.
I honestly think there's a cabal. They're all singing from the same hymn sheet. They're all taking their orders from the same big industrial organisations. Even the news corporations are within the umbrella of a bigger industrial scale libertarian model. And that's what we're fighting against. But you know what? We can do it. It's slowly. But I do know. Colette, that fences have been put up at Cromarty Firth to ring fence. But that's what they're doing. They're putting up a kind of barrier up there. What can we do? What can the people do then if these things are starting and it's politics that's putting them in our country, and we don't want them as people? What can we do as people?
Well, as you know, we are in a tricky situation. Freeport's is a reserved matter to the UK Parliament down in Westminster, seemingly. And as we like to, but then again, I got told that United Kingdom is one country, which is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But
there's not much.
Now, we really need people to actually be, to find out about what's happening, what the impact of the free ports are, because again, a lot of people aren't getting to know because it's not getting covered by, the media, and you really do need to actually look for it. There is like the byliners, media, and they're putting stuff out.
Byline Times.
Yeah, but the main newspapers that people might actually flick through, it's not been reported there.
No.
So really, just now, we've came along as a group, and it's completely non-partisan.
That's right. Yep. Exactly.
And that's the way it should be. We're parties and non-parties, but we've came together for this to actually start going round the country like we did last year, and we're going to continue doing that. But it's actually looking at, we're asking the same question, and we're asking people that attend our meetings, what do we do now? What can we do? What is the next step? Because we are in a really tricky situation. We're fighting a parliament in London.
I know.
And but we are supposed to be sovereign people of Scotland, and this is our land.
Well, I know, but this is
all being forced upon us. But again, I would like the Scottish Government, which is classed as our Scottish Government, to actually be saying more about this within Parliament, so people can actually hear about it if they're watching FMQs or they're watching a particular debate. Or actually, what I would actually like is what some people can do if they're listening, is actually write to their constituency MSP or their regional list MSPs, because obviously we've got the 8 of them all together. You can actually write to them and ask them to put a question forward to FMQs.
I am going to do that. I've got Christina McKelvey. She's not bad. Whether she'll ask the question, I don't know. But I'm going to try anyway, and I'm going to copy the email that I sent her. So we've got proof that it was sent. If she doesn't act upon it, I want to know why. But I think there's closed ranks in this one. I really do, and I can't understand why. I did say last November I met Hamza Yusuf personally, and I asked him if he would come on Caledon Radio, and he said with a almost immediately, "Oh, I'd love to come on." I says, "Well, some of the things I want to talk to you about," and he had a big smiley face, and I mentioned Freeports, and he put on his poker face almost immediately. I want to talk to you about Stirling Directive. I want to talk to you about litter. I want to talk to you about a lot of things that you're not being asked right now. Would you be up for it? And he just says, "Yeah, I would be." And then he went and shook hands with somebody else. And I spoke to his people at the table, and they said, "Yeah, he knows who you are. He will get back in touch." It's now January, and still not a peep from Hamza Yusuf. I think I shouldn't have said the Freeports. I should have got him here and started opening up my discussion and then putting him on the spot. But now I've given him forewarning. I shouldn't have done that, maybe. I don't know. But I don't think...
You never know. But I think, what people can do just now is actually write to their, as I say, their MSPs, all of them, their constituency and regional, and put a question and ask them that you want this question put forward to FMQs or to the finance secretary or to the economy secretary, or the environmental secretary, whatever the one they want. Actually get a question put to anybody within that parliament, so that people can actually hear if it's been asked and what the answer is given. But I think if people start, bombarding.
Yeah, I think that's what we've got to do. Yeah. And
again, even go to if they're holding a surgery, go to the surgeries and ask them. Even though the Freeport this so-called Freeport might not necessarily be in your constituency, but remember, it's going to affect Scotland's economy overall. It's still going to affect. It's still going to affect Scotland.
Yeah, if you're a proud European and you want to get back into that European Union and you're in Gifnick, it doesn't matter that the Freeport's going to be around the Firth of Forth, because it's going to affect you as well. Because the choices we make at this point will affect the choices we have to make at a later point. So that's a great idea. Get to the surgeries, 4 or 5 years, just together. Don't go on your own. Go with like-minded folk, and go to these surgeries and say, "What's your view on Freeports? Do you realise the dangers that Freeports ally with Freeports?" Get your question and put it to them, and watch their faces, and take a camera, take a phone and record it or film it or something and get it onto YouTube, because that's what we need to do. It's so important.
The other thing that people can do, if you're in a community council, if you've got a community council and you're involved in the community council, or you know somebody that actually sits on the community council, I would be asking them to hold a community council meeting and invite the head of the council, especially the ones that are involved in the areas of these economic zones, because I'm not going to call them Freeports, and actually get them to come to a community council. And again, a bit like what you just said there about Humsa, don't tell them what just tell them you want an update on what's happening within your local area for the community council. And once you get them there, then ask them about the Freeports. Well, you've got them there. Because again, what we are finding, as I say, is we're asked, when we've been doing the 4 public meetings that we done last year, and we're going to be doing more this year, is when we send out all these invitations to elected representatives, and they just don't show. Now, it's not as if we don't give them enough time.
Fair warning, yeah.
We give them more than enough time to actually be able to be available. It's just don't turn up. So community councils are really important. They've got a lot. They've got a lot of influence there, that they could actually get the head of the community, the council, to come along to give an update on what's happening in the local area. Is there anything we should know about? And once they put their bums on the seats, that's when you ask them about the economic zones.
Yeah. I might have blown my chance. I hope not, but I hope Humza Yousaf lives up to his promise and comes on Caledon Radio to answer these questions, because I really want to see the whites in his eyes. I don't mind going with the recording equipment to Holyrood and meeting him there to do it, as long as he meets up with me, and I'll take the questions to him. But I'm starting to get a bit worried that he might not do it anymore. But
he's our First Minister. I know. He should, he should be there to actually speak to you or to me or anybody else if we've got an issue with something that's happening in our country and we've got concerns. He should be there to speak about it, to answer the questions that we have. That's his job. That's what he's there for.
Well, if people out there can email the First Minister at the ScottishGov.com, I don't know what it is, the full email address, but you can get it on Humza Yousaf's webpage. Send him a message. He has to come on Caledon Radio. We need to find out what the SNP are doing about Freeports, or, as Colette rightly says, these economic zones, because they're more than just a port. They're extending right across cities. They're amazingly big areas, and I'm getting very, very worried, Colette. I don't want these in my country. I don't want 25-year leases. I mean, if you think PFI schemes were bad, we're still paying off the debt on them.
Exactly.
I don't want to pay the debt on this for my kids' future. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's not. It's not even the there's the common good funds that businesses contribute to through their taxes that then go to the community through the Common Good Fund. There's all these historic funds that we have here in Scotland that are unique to Scotland. And if they're not going to be paying taxes, then these like up in Inverness, the Common Good Fund, well, the things that they use to upgrade the town city centre or the New Year's party, that money is going to be depleted immensely.
Yep.
But again, it's you're talking about the 25 years, and it sounds a long time. It really isn't when you think we're in 2024 now, but time passes by. But when you think that after the 25, these businesses, you've got to remember, these businesses are then just going to go away.
Yes, right.
Whatever they've done to the area,
they're going to asset strip it.
We have to pick up the pieces. It's the council then that has to then. They don't have to change. They don't have to put it. It's not like renting a flat, and before you leave, you've got to put it exactly back the way it was. If there was white walls, then you've got to put it back to white walls. If you'd painted it, you need to repaint it. They don't have to do anything with the infrastructure that whatever they've done to it.
Yeah.
It's the council, it's the taxpayer that's going to have to pay to change all that back.
Indeed, Colette, and it's worrying me sick. And one of the things we've got to be very careful about as we talk about politics, and Scotland in particular, is that Scotland has been airbrushed out of language now. We were talking last night about this new unitary sovereign state that the Tories are at every opportunity, and Labour as well. And to be honest, I've seen Hamza Yousaf do this, call the UK a country. It is not a country. It's an amalgam of countries. It's called, and we should call it the United Kingdoms.
Yes.
Rather than it's getting into farcical stuff. But we have to be careful that we don't get caught up in this, because we'll lose our language. If we lose our language, we'll lose our culture. We'll lose our culture, we'll lose our identity. If we lose that, we've lost Scotland. So this is really important. It used to be, Colette, and there's evidence still in Uddingston of a North British street. That's how far it can go to turning the minds of people into what they are and what they want to be. How do we get round this? How do we remind people that they're Scottish and they're sovereign all the time?
I think we just have to watch what we say and how we phrase things as well, and just try and slowly change that mindset. But because now there's more talk about sovereignty and colonialism, etc., there's different aspects to what is classed as the Treaty of the Union. The Union, all these words and terminology. Because there's new terminology coming out and people are learning more about the claim of right and the Declaration of Arbroath and and what the impact of all of that is on Scotland and what sovereignty actually means.
Yes.
Because the sovereignty of sovereignty in Scotland is completely different to the sovereignty in England. So I think it's supposed to be the treaty and union, that's the two words that we hear all the time, the treaty and union. But now, seemingly, because we're talking about sovereignty and we're talking about the claim of right and we're talking about being a colony and being annexed, and we're actually starting to show evidence through all the work that like Al Faird and Sarah Thalliers are doing, Salvo and the Liberation Movement, etc. There's more evidence there of if it looks like a colony and it sounds like a colony, it's probably a colony. Well, yeah. But what they're now doing is they're trying to then change it by saying it's never been a union, it's not a union. They're changing their rhetoric. So now we are a unitary sovereign state. So they're getting the sovereign in there.
Yes, yeah, indeed. They're taking our language. They're nicking our words.
Because at the end of the day, we all know that the United Kingdoms of England and the United Kingdoms of Scotland, the kingdoms, they were brought together seemingly as this union. But it wasn't to impose England's sovereignty over Scotland's sovereignty. That was not part of this.
That's right.
Of the treaty.
Yep.
treaty that seemingly we talk about. But again, people cherry pick, so now it's not a union, it's a unitary sovereign state. And seemingly we're now just one big country.
Big lump.
And Scotland is a region of that country.
That's right. Is that what you're happy with, people? Can you live with that? I can't. I'm Scottish, and I want to be regarded as Scottish. I don't want to be part of this unitary sovereign state. This is economic sovereignty. This isn't people sovereignty, by the way. And it's a way of whitewashing the borders over. I mean, here's the thing. If Scotland is just a region, why have we got a team playing in the Six Nations rugby? Why are we playing international football on a world stage? It's because we're a nation, and we're one of the oldest nations in the world. England cannot deny us that. And do you know what I worry about as well? England's getting airbrushed out of this, Colette. They should wake up about this, shouldn't they? My goodness. If we're all a unitary sovereign state, that means there's no England or Wales.
Well, exactly. Well, England then must be a region of this. They never say England or Wales. They always make out it's just Scotland's this region of something. It's never. We don't usually hear Wales as a region of this United Kingdom or this unitary state. So it's what they like to. I've had this pushed on me for a good wee while now. Now that I'm talking more about abstention and colony and annexation, etc., and I just get absolutely bombarded on that lovely media, which is now X. It's like the zombies are coming out in force. You're going, oh, here we go. But they're just saying
they are.
It's very robotic because they're basically saying exactly the same thing.
They are. What are you smoking?
And I don't like it when you put up things like the report that I put up at the beginning of the week about Ireland having a £56 million surplus, and I look at that. I wonder, if Scotland was, an independent nation, a country in its own right, a sovereign state, what surplus we would have. And it kind of ruffled a few feathers, let's put it that way. And that's when I was told that I was talking nonsense about how Scotland was a region.
Well, here's the thing that I've got to read out. You sent it to me, and you want me to read it out because you think I'm better at doing it than you, but that might not be the case. But here goes. In summary, the Articles of Union limit the power of the UK Parliament as condition of the treaty. The right to representation at Westminster from Scotland remains a fundamental condition of the treaty. The UK Parliament, therefore, remains subject to the superior, i.e. sovereign power of the treaty's signatory parties. That's both. That is the sovereign kingdoms of Scotland and England, either of whom may permanently withdraw their representation from the UK Parliament, following which the Union Act would be repealed. There you I read it out for you, and that kind of sums it all up, doesn't it? You cannot usurp one with the other. They're both equal because that's what the treaty was based on. And if we want to leave it, we can, because we're half of that. If England wanted to leave it, do you think they would ask for our permission or stop us? We would stop them from leaving it, Colette. It's just bonkers.
No, so that was taken from an article that Alf Baird wrote for, and it was in For Your Scotland that Ian Lawson does, and it was an article that he wrote a few weeks ago, and I put it up on X quite a lot, just to get people to actually look at it, and it's from October 1999, and it's from Westminster, and it's. It's basically saying if Scotland representation don't turn up, then this UK Parliament, this Westminster, it's from the Privilege Committee report. Privilege Committee report of 1999, October 1999. So it's there in black and white. People, but again, you can look at Alf Baird's article, and it's very, it's very thorough.
Aye.
If representation don't turn up, then this Westminster Parliament can't exist because it's gone beyond the terms of the
treaty. Yeah. So then it makes sense then to not turn up then, abstentionism.
Exactly. So this is why now the abstention that, we've always, ISP have always been for abstention. I will never take an oath to...
me neither, Colette. I'm with you.
So I would never take my seat anyway. Yeah. But this is where it's coming more important that people actually understand that there's actually these terms within these committee reports.
Hi.
But funny enough, they're not. People don't actually know about it, so that's why I wanted you to read that out. It's an Alfair's article. It's in the Privilege Committee report from October 1999. It's based in black and white.
Mm-hmm. So the Privilege Committee's report from 1999. Was that the only one that done that year, or is there a date on that we can look for?
It's October 1999, as far as I'm aware. This one.
October.
But as I say, I put out. I'll retweet it later on. The article that Alfair puts out is it's very thorough.
Tag me in it, Colette. Tag me in it. It's got all the different terms in it, but that is one of the main things is about the terms of the representation going down to the Westminster Parliament. If no Scottish representation turn up, then the Parliament can be repealed. So let's get this straight. The fact that there's SNP members on those green benches legitimises the union, the treaty.
Yes, it does. It does. Yes.
Wow. So when they leave and those benches are empty, that's the treaty null and void.
Yes.
Wow. Wow, folks, you heard it here first in Caledon Radio. Let's get them out of there, shall we? Let's put that to the test. Will they close it down? Will the mace be able to be brought out? Can they have discussion in that chamber if there's no Scots there? Because that's what the treaty says. Wow, Colette, this is big news. Caledon Radio, you're listening to us. David's just sent me some stuff. He's listening to this, and I can't check it just now because my phone's going like mad. Everybody's wanting to get on this, but we're running out of time, Colette. 11:23. I've got 5 minutes to prep for David Powell coming on at past.
No bother.
What a thing to leave us on, isn't it?
I know. I like to leave you with an open mind, but no, that's
wow.
There's so much that we're learning now, and the likes of Alf Baird and Sarah Salyers and the research that they have done, and they've actually had to really scrutinise and look through all these different reports, and I mean, these are big, lengthy documents. These aren't just, but they're finding stuff out that people don't know about, that and they're hiding it from us. Because, as we said last night, and I said it in 2014, if we were such a financial burden on Westminster and the Parliament in London, why are they hanging on to us? Why are they keeping hold of us?
Well, that's
because they need us financially.
They need our resources. That's the thing.
Exactly.
Wherever
and
they've been.
With the three ports as well, with these economic zones, you've got to remember in 2014. They kept leading up to the referendum. They kept saying you're too little, too poor. Well, if you think that we've now not going to have a refinery in Resize, the only one in Scotland, if that's going to be now, that area is now going to be in a free port and an economic zone area, then you're going to have less and less taxation going down from our oil and gas because it's going to get bypassed. So then they'll say, oh, well, your gas and oil's not actually making us any money.
That's right.
But actually it's, but it's just getting bypassed.
Absolutely.
So it's going to look as if our economy is getting poorer and poorer, but it's not. It's just the implement of these economic zones being imposed on Scotland.
That's right. And the money's filtering away somewhere else. It's not coming to us.
It's asset stripping on a major scale. So, yes, that's why I think abstention and not taking our seat in Westminster really is the only way, because you're only enabling, as I put up on social media, you're only enabling Westminster to
Wow.
continue with the English Crown law rule over Scotland.
Wow, this is big news. I've had Peter Bell giving his view on this. He's not keen on abstentionism. Bill Cruikshank yesterday, he says yes, but there's got to be a convention that they come out to. And now you've come out and says it's imperative because they're holding up this system. If they come away with it, the treaty becomes a non-treaty. And that is legal. That is law. Colette, you've just filled. Wow. Listen. We'll have to leave it there, Colette, because I know David will be waiting in the wings. I better prep for him. But Colette, you've kept your best till last. Wow. I'm going to be retweeting this, rebroadcasting this till the cows come home, and I want answers. I want Alf Baird back on here to tell me more about this. I'll maybe even get Sarah Salyers on if she's willing to talk about this as well. This is big stuff. I love it. Oh, this gives me hope. Colette, good on you, gal. Good on you. Listen, Colette, I've got to leave it there, but we'll catch up very, very soon, and thanks for coming on Caledon Radio.
No problem, Nori, and I look forward to listening to David now and seeing what the update is with his situation with the economic zones, etc.
I will find out in a minute. Cheers, Colette.
Excellent. Thanks, Nori.
Right,
Cheers.
bye.
Bye-bye.